if I look a little bit frazzled, it's because I was just fighting a bee in my room, and it was seriously like this big, guys. Just this big. But, anywho, let's get on to today's topic. So, Suicide Squad, I finally got to watch last night because I couldn't find any transportation to get out to my local theater. There was no bus routes. There's hardly any buses here in Pendleton, and taking a taxi is pretty much economical suicide. So I had to wait until this past week to watch it. And Suicide Squad is the third installment in this new DC expanded universe that has been kind of a disappointment to me so far. Whereas with Iron Man was like the huge breakout hit for Marvel, Man of Steel set out to divide people, and even more so with Batman vs. Superman. And with Zack Snyder, the director of both, now producing this new film, does Suicide Squad stand up to be a turnaround point for the DC Cinematic Universe? Or does it pale in comparison and leave more disappointment to the point where it should be rebooted? Now, going in, I wanted to really love this film because from the trailers alone, I thought I was going to get something incredible. And to some extent, I did. The first act of this movie is pretty well done, giving everyone the good rap sheets, getting us introduced to these characters that we're going to have some connection to, some sort of connection to, and it does it pretty perfectly, if not for a couple spots where the editing needed to be done. For example, Amanda Waller's like, oh yeah, well I'm going to explain to you all these different characters. But when she gets to the White House, she almost exactly says the same stuff she told the other guys at her dinner table at the beginning of the movie. It's just so weird. They could have just cut that part out of the White House scene and just had that continuation to the White House. It would have been a nice, it would have been a better edit, and it would have made the film a little bit go faster. But I don't know. And the second half of the film feels more like a third act, where there is no second act for us to really get more development. Guys, I really wanted to like this film. I really did. And with a whole summer full of disappointments, I just wanted at least one more movie to go under the belt as a good summer movie. And this one just wasn't it for me, guys. It just wasn't it for me. This one had some of the poorest editing, some of the poorest lighting, especially for the fighting scenes, and the final boss fight, which I'll get to in a minute. It had some kind of lackluster acting, which is better than the last 2 points. And it had some good set design, and it had some good costume pieces. It really did. But let's get into the cons first. What I really hated about this film, because, this is about bad guys, so we have to do the bad first and then the good last. So, the worst part about this movie is a tie, I believe, between Jared Leto's Joker and Enchantress's role in the movie. If you haven't known, Enchantress becomes a villain for some imaginary freaking reason that no one really understands. I was just sitting there, and I thought, well, she's going to be a really cool part to this movie. Is she going to, what kind of cool stuff can she do with the team? And it just so happens that apparently she had this vendetta against humanity, and it's just about the same sort of villain stuff you've seen before. And it's so dumb that every time we see a superhero film that is trying to establish these characters, we get a lackluster villain just so that we can prop up our heroes more. It doesn't work. If you're going to have something that is memorable, a memorable movie, you have to have both a memorable cast and a memorable villain. This villain is one of the worst villains I have ever seen this year. And you can say all you want about Doomsday. You can say all you want about Lex Luthor. Or you can say all you want about Baron Zemo. Nothing compares to the Enchantress's. She had almost no motivation to go after humanity. There is none. There's almost none other than, oh, I'm a god. No one worships me anymore, so I'm going to smite them. with her stupid brother. Good lord. And let's talk about Jared Leto's performance. And there is a lot of controversy about how much of the film was deleted that had Joker in it. And I believe that if there had been more footage, I might have gotten used to him. And keep in mind, guys, I like the idea of having a gangster Joker. We've had that portrayal before in the comics. We've had it in the movies with Batman 1989 by Jack Nicholson. It would have been a nice little turnaround from Heath Ledger's Joker. However, he comes off as a mix between Jack Sparrow at times with a copycat, discounted version of Heath Ledger's Joker. I'm not kidding. Somehow people seem to think that being psychotic means that you are eccentric. Why? Why does that ever have to be that way? I mean, sure, we've had Hannibal Lecter, who is a known psychotic, who is eccentric, but he wasn't over the top about it. If it's one thing I could say that is very bad about Leto's performance, is that he's very over the top. Too over the top, in fact, that I can't even say it's so bad it's good. It's just bad just to be bad. It's bad. His performance does not... Like, I thought when he was announced as the Joker and whatnot, I thought, hey, maybe this will be the Heath Ledger effect. You know, where everyone pisses and moans about a certain actor playing a certain character that no one wants him to play as, and then when they see him, he's like, oh, shoot, we need to apologize because he was so good. This is not that movie. This is not that movie. And this is just honest stuff here. I was sitting in that auditorium, towards the front row of the auditorium, and I was watching it, and every time he was on screen, I was cringing. I was cringing at the fact, like, some of this dialogue that he's given. It's some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen. Or even heard. It's just so weird to me that they can't tackle this gangster Joker. They couldn't tackle it well enough. And I don't think Jared Leto did a very good job. I just don't. And who knows, maybe my opinion will be swayed if they release the actual movie. That's right. One of the worst parts about this movie is the fact that this isn't David Ayer's movie. If you've been following along with the news about Warner Brothers, they decided that during reshoots, because of the downfall of Batman vs. Superman and all the critical feedback it's been getting, they wanted to put humor in it and whatnot. Warner Brothers essentially hired their own team to edit the film, and they themselves sent it out. Not David Ayer's. David Ayer's version probably would have been better. Maybe. But it felt like this film needlessly needed to be an hour and a half. Like, seriously, this film is an hour and a half. I could have seen this film as 2 hours and 15 minutes. It would have been better. It would have been better because you would have more places to fit more character development so that we can get attached to all these people. The only people that I felt actually attached to with the character development was Deadshot, Amanda Waller, and Harley Quinn. Those are the 3 characters that ever get the most character development. And it is terrible. It's terrible. You have this full team of people, like 8 or 9 people, and you can't give enough character development to at least 5 of them, let alone 3? You have a huge cast, and the only character development you give to these like 9 to 11 main players is 3? Sorry, I have an itch in my eye. You can only give 3 character developments? Seriously? Warner Brothers? That's how you're going to edit it? I swear, Warner Brothers is purposely sabotaging their films. I freaking swear. Because the last time we had this happen was with Batman vs. Superman. And regardless of what you think of the original cut, the extended edition does add a little bit more stuff. And however, I can't really defend some of the other things like, well, Lex Luthor's still a piece of shit. I'm sorry. Like, this movie has so much bad in it that I almost feel that I've been betrayed Like, seriously, been betrayed. I almost want to be one of those guys who is suing Warner Brothers because of false advertisement. Yeah, there's a guy wanting to sue Warner Brothers because of false advertisement because he saw that in the main promotion for this movie, there was a lot more focus on Harley Quinn and Joker. And Joker was only in it for 4 minutes of screen time. Like, seriously, 4 minutes of screen time. Out of almost an hour and 45 minutes, the Joker is in it for 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Seriously? Now, I understand what people are wanting to say about this film. It's about love. You should focus on the theme of the movie, which is love, which is true. There is a huge theme in this film about love and what we do for love and what we want to do for the people we love or the things we love. And like Deadshot is her daughter. Harley Quinn is Mr. J, obviously. Joker. Captain Boomerang really has nothing. Diablo, he killed his family accidentally, but like he doesn't want to fight anymore because of it, so that kind of negates the fact that he's wanting to love anyone. Killer Croc doesn't have any backstory for this love thing. The actress who plays Moon, or Dr. Moon, who plays Enchantress, kind of a weird situation with Enchantress. Yeah, she's in love with this commander who commands the Suicide Squad, and like there's not enough of this theme to really go around. I understand. I watched Monday Matt's review before I watched this before I made this review, and he was talking about how this whole film is about love and waiting for love and fighting for love, and I understand that. That is a good message. If it wasn't contradicted by Deadshot himself. There's a scene in this movie, this is slight spoilers, there's a scene in this movie after Harley Quinn has this flashback of her falling into a vat of chemicals at Ace Chemicals. She points a gun at Deadshot and she goes, "Have you ever loved someone?" And he goes, Nah, I haven't loved anyone." Well, then how the hell did you get a daughter, and how the hell are you wanting to go back to your daughter if you're saying that? Now, I could have heard it wrong because I'm a little bit hard of hearing nowadays, but seriously, if you're going to say that, which is a whole contradiction of your message of the movie, you got some issues on the character end of it. You seriously do. Now let's talk about the final fight scene. The final fight of this entire thing is fantastic. No, seriously. This entire fight reminds me of Fan-4-Stick. You have shit flying in the air in a circular pattern. You have this machine that's sucking your shit in to make this doomsday weapon to kill everything in its sight. Fan-4-Stick. It's Fan-4-Stick in a nutshell. And that's not to mention, this fight could have been really cool visually, but because they had to like spray the lenses with like water and mist and everyone is cloaked in like this, like what? I couldn't even focus on what the fight scene was because it was so poorly lit and so poorly designed that I couldn't pay attention to the action. And that's another thing that's bad with this movie, is that the action is not well shot. Definitely not well shot. It's not well done either. The random cuts and all this stuff, it's not fluent. It felt more like Taken 3. The amount of shaky cam action that it shows. Yeah, there's some cool like freeze frame shots and some really nice slow-mo action, but when the majority of the action is swing cut, shoot cut, back cut, like if it's just random cutting that just goes like this, sounds like I'm doing something else. If it just keeps doing that, I'm not going to be able to pay attention to the action of the film. And this film has so many goddamn problems. It even surprises me how Warner Brothers could even want to put out this movie. This movie needed to be re-edited. This movie needed some reshoots, definitely. The humor can mostly stay, if not for some cringeworthy lines. But the rest is garbage. Now, here's the good things I'm going to say about the film before you torch me on a plank of fire. The good things about this film is Killer Croc. Not the character, but what his design is. Now, David Ayer, for most of you who don't know, he relies on realism a lot in his films. And to study up on what Killer Croc is, the actor had to watch a bunch of videos about crocodiles and what their mannerisms and what their behavior is like. And the makeup artist also had to pay attention to that too. Where the scales go, where all the little parts go on his body that would make him look like a crocodile. And in parts it doesn't work, but it's really good to see practical effects being used. Now, granted, there is some CGI for the character for his eye slits. That part is CGI, but the rest is practical, and I love him for that. That was good. Deadshot, favorite part of the film. He honestly made me laugh the entire time, and you know what? He is just Will Smith being Will Smith, but doesn't really make him much more cooler than that, really. And Amanda Waller, as much as she is an asshole in this film, she's well done. She's well done. The relationship between Harley Quinn and Joker, perfectly handled. In fact, there is one part of this film where it does have this flashback of like how her and Joker get together, and there's this really iconic image of him in a tuxedo and her in her classic Harley Quinn outfit. That's really good homages. That's really good. Some of the direction is okay. The costumes are okay, if not reminiscent of Hot Topic. Guys, I know that critics and audiences get off on the wrong foot at a lot of times, and there's some movies that other critics hated that I love, like Hook. I think that's a good movie where critics didn't really think at the time that it's a good movie. See, here's the thing, fans. I'm a fan as well, alright? I want the movies to be great. But as a fan, I feel betrayed when those movies turn out to be not made well. As I've mentioned before, there's several characters that either didn't get enough character progression or was downright stupid. The editing was crap, the lighting was crap, the action was crap. Nearly 70% of this film is crap. Now, do I think it deserves a 3 out of 10 like on Rotten Tomatoes? No. But does it get a 6 or above? No. It doesn't. I could say for right now, it's kind of a turning point for the DC Cinematic Universe. It truly is. And I'm not going to act like Marvel had anything bad, because it did have some bad stuff. The Thor movies, I couldn't care for. The Incredible Hulk movie was boring. Iron Man 2, I will defend to my life as one of the worst Iron Man films because it did a rehash of the first one, and it just crammed too much stuff into it. It had some bumps in the road. But when you have 3 bumps in a row, that's it for me. Now, hopefully, I'm giving DC one more year to change my mind about this universe. One more year. If Justice League and Wonder Woman are knockouts, I will continue to support the DC Cinematic Universe. I will. Because I truly believe at this point, we need competition. We need the competition between Marvel and DC. If there is no competition between the two, Marvel is having all the monopoly, and eventually people are going to get tired of watching Marvel movies. So without DC, the superhero genre itself is not going to be as viable in 10 years as it is now. DC needs to step up their game if they want to become the same as Marvel, to become better than Marvel. If they want to compete against Marvel, they have to do better. So for right now, until a director's cut of this movie comes out, I'm giving this film a 5 out of 10. It is not bad, it is not good, but it certainly is in the middle. It has a lot of bad stuff about it, but it has some good stuff about it. As I mentioned before, the first act is great. You can watch the first act and be kind of enjoyed, but the last act of this film feels rushed, it felt disjointed, and it needed a second act to coincide with the first and third act. There was a jump in logic for several characters in this film that needed to be dealt with. So hopefully there is a director's cut for this film. I will watch the director's cut of this film because I wanted this film to be good. I love the Suicide Squad, guys. I love Assault on Arkham. I love the comic books. I love the characters, but they need to be done better. And I know the comic creators themselves have told the critics to screw off, but I'm sorry, as a fan, as a person who studies movies as well, I want these characters to be handled with care. I want these characters to have a movie that is worthy of their respect. This movie has some entertaining parts and a lot of cringeworthy stuff. If you feel the need that you want to go and support this film, go and support this film. I'm not going to stop you. Just keep in mind, with every critic saying this, critics are here to give our opinion. You are free to disagree or agree with what we say about these films. Alright? You do not have to always agree with critics. You do not. But you can't just outright say, you can't just outright say to people, oh, he's a critic, so we shouldn't, like, be with him. We shouldn't, like, have any discussions with him because it's just him being critical. It's just his opinion. Well, I'm sorry. You have an opinion, too. Everyone has an opinion. The movies are meant to have opinions. Movies are meant to have opinions. And without those opinions, there's no one that truly loves film. In my mind. So, what do you guys think of Suicide Squad? Did you think it was better than what I thought it was? Did you think it was worse than what I thought it was? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, peace.